Never try to understand someone so deeply that you forget who's actually getting hurt. Carl Jung. Have you ever loved someone who felt like destiny in the beginning? They made you feel chosen, cherished, safe, until suddenly they disappeared. No explanation, no more goodnight texts, no more lingering eyes. Just you sitting there trying to decode what the hell just happened. And then you start to wonder, are they emotionally avoidant or are they a narcissist? But here's the truth, no one really tells you. Telling the difference between an avoidant and a narcissist isn't just about knowing who they are. It's about knowing whether you're trying to heal a relationship or survive a psychological battlefield. Because if you get it wrong, if you try to rescue a narcissist as if they're just scared of love, you will end up stripped of your self-worth, numb to your own feelings, and slowly erased from your own life. Today, I'm going to help you draw that line clearly, and more importantly, help you realize what kind of love you truly deserve. Have you ever felt this? That you're in love, and yet you feel yourself shrinking? The more you care, the colder they get. The more sincere and open you are, the more they slip away. Whether they're avoidant or narcissistic, they leave you with the same haunting feeling. I'm not enough. Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I should be more chill. And slowly, you turn inward, adjusting, silencing, doubting yourself. But stop, it's not your fault. Because here's the truth. Both avoidance and narcissists create this confusion in relationships. But the most important difference isn't how they make you feel. It's why they act the way they do. The similarities, why you get confused. 1. Both avoid intimacy once it gets real. At first, they seem deep, charming, even emotionally available. But as the relationship asks for stability, they pull away. 2. Both lack true emotional empathy. When you're hurt, when you need care, they build a wall. They might say, "You're overreacting. Your feelings aren't my responsibility. Why are you so sensitive?" 3. Both use silence as a tool. No replies, no calls, they vanish. You hurt, you blame yourself, and then you chase them and the cycle begins. But the difference is intent. Avoidance withdraw out of fear of vulnerability. Narcissists approach you with the goal of control and manipulation. 1. Avoidance is defense. Narcissism is exploitation. Avoidance love, but they panic when it gets deep. They fear losing themselves, being rejected. They want love, but their nervous system screams, "Too close, danger." Narcissists love you as long as you serve their ego. The more you tolerate, the more power they feel. The moment you have boundaries, they strike. 2. Silence serve différents purposes. Avoidance goes silent to recover. Narcissists go silent to punish, to make you chase. 3. Conflict patterns. Flight versus fight. Avoidance shut down stonewalling, ghosting, freezing. Narcissists escalate, yelling, blaming, gaslighting until you question reality. 4. Inner pain but different responses. Avoidance feels shame and unworthiness. Narcissists, they bury their pain under arrogance, mocking others to avoid feeling empty. So, if you've ever asked yourself, why did they say they loved me and then disappear? Why am I always the one fixing the relationship? Why does loving them feel like losing myself? It's not you, it's their emotional survival system. And your job isn't to heal them, it's to recognize the signs early so you don't lose yourself in the process. And maybe by now, you've realized something important, that the feeling of not being good enough was never truly about you. It was about giving your heart to someone who simply wasn't equipped to hold it, at least, not in a healthy way. In the previous section, we talked about how disturbingly similar avoidance and narcissists can behave. But this is where the most important truth needs to be said. Avoidants are not heartless. They're not cruel or evil. They're people who were once deeply wounded, so wounded, in fact, that they had to develop a survival strategy that says, don't trust, don't get close, don't let anyone near enough to hurt you. On the other hand, narcissists don't withdraw, they invade. They move into your life, learn how to make you soften, trust, open up, not to love you, but to own you. To them, a relationship isn't connection, it's leverage. Avoidance is fear. Narcissism is a strategy. You can see this difference clearly during pivotal moments in a relationship. Avoidance retreat when you get closer. When emotional intimacy deepens, when you begin to ask for presence, consistency, vulnerability, they feel like they're being suffocated. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because their nervous system registers closeness as danger. And that danger is, love means pain. Narcissists do the opposite. They draw closer when they sense you're about to leave. They feel the loss of control coming, so they rush in, sweet words, apologies, promises. Not because they've changed, but because they want the game to continue. That's not love, that's control. And this is the most dangerous trap in emotional relationships. When two behaviors look the same, but come from opposite motives, you see them become soft again after ignoring you for a week? That's not always a sign of realization. For an avoidant, it might be fear of losing you. But for a narcissist, it's manipulation. They're setting the trap for the next cycle. Idealize, control, devalue, discard, and repeat. Avoidance can heal. Narcissists, not unless they want to. Avoidants don't want to hurt you. They panic because they love you and they fear that by loving you, they'll eventually lose you. Their core wound is emotional betrayal in childhood. They learn that the more they trust, the more they get hurt. So they build distance even when they care. Narcissists, they don't build walls. They build traps. They don't fear losing you. They fear you waking up. And if you do wake up, they'll gaslight you until you doubt yourself again. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm too needy. Maybe I'm the toxic one. They don't need you. They need the feeling of controlling you. Avoidance is wired in the nervous system, not a moral failing. Many people call avoidance cold or emotionally dead, but neuroscience tells a different story. Avoidants often have reduced activity in the parts of the brain responsible for emotional and social processing. They were conditioned to survive without connection. They don't believe anyone will truly stay. This is completely different from narcissists who can understand your emotions, but deliberately choose not to care. They know what you need, and they use it to hurt you. So if you've ever been in a relationship like this, hear me. You are not weak because you're in pain. You are not foolish because you trust it. You are not too much just because someone else couldn't love you well. But you do need clarity. If someone can acknowledge the harm they've caused and genuinely wants to change, there may be hope. But if you're the one constantly proving your worth, if they're always right and you're always wrong, then this is no longer love. It's self-erasure. Strength is not in how long you hold on. It's in whether you dare to see things clearly. You can't heal someone who doesn't want healing. You can't build connection with someone who only builds walls. And you cannot keep sacrificing your own peace just to keep a version of love that is already wounding you. Let the next part of this journey show you. You were meant for more than this. And then you begin to realize this. The avoidant truly wants to love, but they simply don't know how to believe they're worthy of being loved. As for the narcissist, they crave love, but not for connection. They need your love like a temporary fuel to fill the emptiness inside they never dare to face. This is a painful realization, but also the moment where a deeper truth begins to emerge. Both of them are living in pain, and both of them can heal, but only if they consciously choose to face themselves. Avoidants are not emotionless. They were taught to suppress emotion. A study in developmental neuroscience, Dozier and Kobach, 1992, shows that children who develop avoidant attachment often learned early on that expressing emotion brought no response, or worse, coldness, rejection, or punishment. So to survive, they learn to disconnect from their own feelings. As adults, they become people who are extremely logical and rational, who don't let emotions get in the way. But deep down, they're still those same children longing to be held, to be seen, to be loved, without needing to prove themselves. But they don't know how to believe in that, because love requires trust, and they don't trust anyone to stay. Narcissists, on the other hand, weren't just shut down, they were either overinflated or emotionally abandoned. There are two main ways narcissism can form. When a child is excessively praised without real accomplishment, they develop the belief that they're special, yet lack inner stability and resilience. Or when a child is emotionally neglected or devalued, they grow up with a deeply injured sense of self. To survive, they build a false, untouchable persona to hide unbearable shame and insecurity. They seek love to have you validate their worth. But tragically, every time you offer real love, they distort and reject it. They can't receive love, they can only consume it as a form of power. And if you stop serving that role, they discard you without hesitation. What does this awareness give you? It allows you to step out of the savior role. You no longer feel the need to heal them with your love, because healing is never something you can do for someone else. It has to be their own decision. No matter how deeply you love, how patiently you wait, or how much you sacrifice, if they're not willing to face themselves, all your efforts will become fuel for another toxic loop. But if an avoidant truly wants to learn how to feel, how to receive love, they can. And if someone with narcissistic traits wants to take off the mask and confront the root of their wounds, they too can begin to reclaim themselves. But here's the truth: most won't unless they hit rock bottom. So what do you, the one who loved them, actually need? You need to stop. You need to accept this truth. Not every kind of love can save someone, and not everyone in pain actually wants to heal. You can have compassion, but you don't need to lose yourself. You can understand their pain, but you don't have to carry it for them. What you truly need is to return to yourself, to ask, what am I feeling? What do I need? Am I abandoning myself just to keep someone who can't love me well? Because here's something no one told you. You can love someone deeply and still choose to leave. Because love cannot survive without safety and truth. And once you really begin to see that, you won't need to obsess over whether they're avoidant or narcissist anymore. Because the truth is, if someone cannot love you with responsibility and maturity, they are not someone you need to keep. Let the next chapter help you come back to yourself and begin a real journey of healing from within. When you step out of the trance of trying to decode who they are, you'll suddenly realize you've forgotten the most important person, yourself. From now on, each time you think of them, don't ask, why are they acting this way? But instead ask, how do I feel? What do I need? Because when you pour all your mental energy into analyzing an avoidance or narcissist's motives, you easily lose touch with the genuine emotions surging in your own heart: loneliness, pain, even a faint longing to be seen. The very first thing you must do is pause. Sit down, close your eyes, and tune into your breath. Record in a journal every feeling, from anger and disappointment to numbness, or the faintest glimmer of hope. When you learn to honor your own emotions first, you'll begin to recognize where your real boundaries lie and where your true safety starts. Next, focus on their actions, not the label they carry. In countless conversations with friends and family, you've likely heard things like, "He's just avoidant," or "She has some narcissistic traits, don't blame her." But labels are just words. What really matters are the concrete behaviors. Do they ask how you feel? Do they remember what comforts or supports you when you're struggling? Or do they go silent when you're hurting and put on a sweet facade whenever they reappear? List at least 3 behaviors that made you feel genuinely loved, no matter how small, and 3 behaviors that shattered your heart. Comparing these lists will reveal which parts of the relationship are worth preserving and which parts don't deserve another tear. At this point, you need to ask whether this relationship meets the 3 fundamental criteria: safety, connection, reciprocity. Safety isn't just about the absence of abuse or insults. It's the feeling that you can share your deepest thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment. Connection means when you ask about their day, they truly care about every detail, that your conversations go beyond small talk to touch on real moods, joys, and sorrows. Reciprocity means that when you give your time, dedication, or patience, you receive comparable support in return. A word of encouragement, a thoughtful gesture, or simply their presence when you need it most. If any one of these elements is missing, you're trapped in an unhealthy relationship where you keep giving, but they only take gradually draining you until you run on empty. Finally, ask yourself, am I loving or am I bearing a burden? Loving is when your heart flutters at the sound of their name. You feel uplifted in sharing yourself, and even through storms, you sense warmth. Carrying a burden is the opposite. Every night you lie awake deciding whether to text, forcing yourself to suppress sadness, pushing yourself to keep believing despite their silence. You feel day by day more exhausted and estranged from your own self. If burden is your answer, that's your signal to step back or even end things to save yourself. When you genuinely place your own safety first, you'll see, choosing to walk away is not a failure, but a triumph of self-love. The boundaries you set aren't meant to block love, but to shield your heart from unnecessary wounds. And deciding not to fix someone else isn't cowardice, but a powerful assertion of your worth. You deserve a love that respects you, is sincere, and is mature enough to grow alongside you. In that moment, you no longer feel lost in the labels avoidant or narcissist, because you've found the strongest support there is yourself. Human beings are not defined by their circumstances, but by how they respond to them. Viktor Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that even during the darkest days in a concentration camp, he found life's meaning by choosing his own inner response. And when you bravely step away from a toxic relationship, you are exercising that supreme freedom, the freedom to choose how you react and how you nurture yourself. Brené Brown, in The Gifts of Imperfection, asserts that the greatest gift we can give our psychological wounds is not to flee from pain, but to allow ourselves to feel it fully. And you absolutely deserve to cry, to be angry, to feel disappointed without judgment. Neuroscience and Thich Nhat Hanh's mindfulness teachings show that when we focus on each breath and the present moment, the past can no longer drag our minds back into regret, nor can the future steal away our connection to now. With every inhale and exhale, you affirm, I deserve peace. You are healing the root fears that once shattered your self-trust. When you stop trying to decode the motives of an avoidant or narcissist at the expense of your own feelings, you finally have the chance to return to your own heart. Sit down, close your eyes, listen to your breath, and journal every emotion from rage and disappointment to the faintest glimmer of hope, because only by knowing what you truly feel can you establish your own safety boundaries. Focusing on their actions, not their labels, helps you see clearly. Rather than obsessing over whether they're a narcissistic avoidant, list 3 behaviors that made you feel genuinely loved and 3 that broke your heart. That list will reveal which parts of the relationship deserve safeguarding and which must be released. Ask yourself whether this relationship meets the 3 essentials: safety, connection, reciprocity. Safety means sharing your fears, dreams, and flaws without fear of judgment. Connection means your every story is met with full attention. Reciprocity means that when you give even a simple word of encouragement, you receive worthy support in return. If any element is missing, you're offering your heart to an unhealthy dynamic, endlessly giving and never replenished. Then ask, am I loving or am I bearing a burden? Love is the sweet flutter of your heart at the sound of their name. Burden is the unnamed pressure in every missed call, the forced belief in the absence of evidence, the daily estrangement from yourself. If it's a burden, it's time to let go, because leaving isn't failure. It's a triumph of self-respect. Your value is not measured by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. When you release, you're not abandoning love. You're affirming that you deserve a love that respects, is sincere, and is mature enough to grow with you. By adopting this philosophy of healing as Frankl, Brown, and Thich Nhat Hanh have shown, you'll discover that the greatest, most enduring love doesn't come from others but from your own compassion. Once you're safe in your own arms, the world becomes a place where you are truly worthy of love and respect. And that completes the journey from confusion to confidence, from questioning them to affirming you. In the end, you don't need to decode anyone to discover your own worth. Labels like avoidant or narcissist are merely signposts, not verdicts. What truly matters is that you have learned to listen to your heart, prioritize safety, genuine connection, and mutual support as the foundation of any relationship. Carry these lessons with you. Pause when you feel overwhelmed. Observe actions rather than labels. Verify the 3 pillars: safety, connection, reciprocity, and never hesitate to ask, am I loving or am I bearing a burden? Every decision to let go or to stay is a choice you make, because you deserve to be respected and fully loved. Wishing you courage on your healing journey, and always remember, the greatest love begins with honoring yourself. When you stand strong, healthy, and deep connections will naturally gravitate toward you,